From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of Evenings LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022, with the big fourth stimulus checks landing $15,000 to $80,000. Did you get them yet? I'll show you in tonight's recording how you can get them. They've gone out. Joe Biden has sent them out. Then we turn to the incredible great news about that third stimulus MSC check. That has now landed, and viewers are getting on average $2,000 a month for 12 months. We'll be looking at 6 stimulus to bat a recession. And what happened with that trifecta overnight, Germany, France, that 6 stimulus heat up in April. Then we look at the inflation for SS 300. What did Joe Biden do? And what did Jay Powell do on this horizon today? All the latest details on that front. Then we look to the breaking developing details overseas for Russia and how it impacts your money at home. We'll be teeing up 7 stimulus. Huge, because student loan debt forgiveness, a big issue. And a lot at issue tonight as new interest rate concerns grow. Student loan debt forgiveness teed up for 7 stimulus, and the mortgage industry growing and having big issues across the board. Tonight, we have a lot of breaking news across the land. We'll be turning to the big developing details tonight on Evenings LA about third stimulus. That MSC check that has now landed, averaging out $2,000 a month for 12 months. If you're on benefits, if you're not, if you're a renter, if you're a homeowner, you can get it. I'll have the latest details tonight in prime time. Then we look to the breaking developing details of that fourth stimulus check. Viewers have now gotten $15,000 to $80,000 of checks. How do you get it? It's coming up in tonight's recording. Then we look to next the SS 300 and what Joe Biden is doing and not doing. And the incredible twist that happened today. Huge developing details across the land. We'll be looking at the breaking developing details of that 6 stimulus. As Germany's pivoted, but did the Germans change course? All the latest details on that tonight. And then 7 stimulus heating up in just days from now. Student loan debt forgiveness going to a May 2nd deadline, and those details and more. It's a big broadcast tonight, and it's a 1-hour broadcast. See you at the very end, because I have big money for you at the very end, and also my commentary on what's happening across the land. It's America's most watched show in prime time. It's Evenings LA, from the shores of Santa Monica, California, to the shores of Black Sea. The big money at issue, the big money, and the big breaking developing details tonight. They all start right now. Are you ready? It's Evenings. And good evening, everybody. It's a big night. Well, a lot of breaking news on all the incredible fronts. Thank you for joining me on America's most watched show for prime time for financial news. We got a lot to go over tonight, from domestically, internationally. Your money right now, your money in a few days from now, and more. In tonight's recording, we have a lot of breaking developing details for tonight across the land. Third stimulus MSC checks have landed. I'm going to show you how to get them in tonight's recording, averaging out $2,000 a month for 12 months. Four stimulus checks have landed, $15,000 to $80,000. I'm going to show you how to get them in tonight's recording. Stay with me. There's a lot of checks in tonight's recording. Then we have the big developing details of that 6 stimulus package happening in early April, but breaking developing details out of Germany just minutes ago. The latest that you need to know tonight on that front as well. Then we'll be looking at the big developing details of 7 stimulus, that student loan debt forgiveness, going to potential forgiveness on May 2nd. Wow. We have that, and then this stimulus and that SS 300 looming just a few days away. All those incredible details and more, and the latest financial news you need to know that impacts your wallet. It all starts right now across the board. Let's go into the breaking developing details tonight. Is the Build Back Better Act has new economic data today that signals it needs to be get done right away. That breaking developing details is being seen by the White House, by Congress, and also by Wall Street. The breaking developing details we're going to go over first, but we first want to look at the big checks in there, $15,000 to $80,000 of checks. Let's look at the checks first, actually, and then we'll go to the breaking news. The checks pay $15,000 to $80,000 across 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. Let's look at those checks right now. In that first cluster of checks, we have hazard pay. 1 more year for my essential workers. Huge. The EIC got in there. Then the CTC, 1 more year for my children, $3,600 checks for you. 1 more year for the Pell Grant, $550 check for my college students. Then they got money in there for $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. They got money in there to repair your home if you live in a low-income community. Then $4,000 of elder care, $4,000 of care for young children, and nutrition got in there as well. The first add-on of checks to the Build Back Better Act came from Maxine Waters. Just a little bit less than $25,000 got this incredible checks in there. That is for the purchase of your first home. This money will be given to the seller in your name by the federal government at the time of escrow. Yes, that is $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. That is the first of 3 add-ons of checks to the Build Back Better Act currently in the Senate. Then when we look to the next cluster checks, we get more money across the board. In that second cluster, we have home repairs and paid leave. Home repairs to weatherize your home and paid leave. That's a lot of money. $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. $35,000, then you get $800 a week. $15,000, then $400 a week. How much money is that? $4,000 to $6,000 per year. And if you work W-2 1099, you get it. If you don't work, but your son or daughter does work, they're going to get the check as well. If they have to take you to the doctor, that is the second cluster of checks in the Build Back Better Act for stimulus recon. The second add-on of checks, $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disability. Then we turn to the third add-on of checks, huge. And that third add-on of checks is even more than the first. Let's look at it. Seniors checks, free internet checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, checks for nutrition, and then seniors getting lots of checks in there. They're getting in there hearing checks, vision checks, dental checks, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, and then the Medicaid gap fix, providing a workaround plan for people who are uninsured in 12 Republican holdout states, which is par for the course when we're talking about adding checks to the Build Back Better Act. The last checks that they vow to add in there, those senators, of course, are, yes, you heard me right, MSC, standing for Monthly IRS Stimulus Check. Who gets it? How much? Let's go over the details starting right now. These are checks that would be paid out the same as you got a third stimulus check, so says the legislators. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it, double it. Family of 4, quadruple it, you get as well. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security or railroad benefits, you get as well. Adult dependents also would get it. It is non-income, it's not taxable, it's offered nationwide, and the eligibility we just went over, but the payout's even better. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and there you rock and roll. That is the Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon that is currently in the Senate. But what you need to know is that while it is not a law, the Build Back Better Act, the President of the United States 5 weeks ago, this coming Friday, made something else a law. And it's the fourth stimulus add-on. Fourth stimulus add-on became law because the president did it in the executive branch. Did not need an act of Congress. Let's slow it down. Build Back Better Act, not a law. That's in the Congress. But the president making law in the White House, executive branch, an incredible add-on. $15,000 to $80,000 of fourth stimulus checks. It's law. 1. Number 2, it's been sent out. Number 3, viewers have gotten it. Number 4, you can get it as well. How do you get it? It's coming up in just a second. Also at issue is that third stimulus. You may have gotten a $1,400 stimulus check last year, but third stimulus is now paying out additionally an MSC check. Oh, baby. It is more than the fourth stimulus MSC, and it's a little bit different. How do you get that third stimulus MSC? And how much is it? It's $2,000 a month for 12 months on average for viewers of this channel. And how do you get it? It's coming up in just a second. But we have breaking news tonight about the Build Back Better Act. A lot of breaking news. Let's go over the news now that we've gone over the checks. The issue at hand tonight is how quickly they can get it done. There's a series of breaking developing details tonight that signals Build Back Better may go to the finish line faster. 1, jobs numbers, and 2, also the new mortgage numbers. Let's go over the details happening tonight. First, the jobs numbers were released today, and they were a slight beat, but not much. 450,000 new jobs were created in the month of March, says payroll firm ADTP. That's a beat because 455,000 is a beat over the 450,000 projected. Good news on that front, but not so good news on the growth rate. The growth rate was a slight miss, and that slight miss was 6.9% compared to a projected 7% for GDP. GDP is the gross national product of the U.S. economy. Signaling the economy did not grow as strongly as anticipated for the month of March. 6.9, they were looking for 7%. Meantime, we're going to see the numbers later this week from the Department of Labor. Those are the non-farm payrolls. We'll see those across the board. The third number that's really at issue tonight is not good at all, and that signals more push for the Build Back Better Act. That third number that came in is the big number for the mortgage industry. The mortgage industry proposed a big plunge, and it's not good. Refi numbers for mortgage industry plunged 60% overnight for the highest levels since 2000, hitting their highest levels since 2018. Mortgage numbers are surging out of control. Let's look at how quickly they've grown. They have now grown a whopping 15% day after day. Where are we tonight? They are now up 60% year after year, year to date, at 5% and growing across the board. This is signaling that the 30-year fixed mortgage is now unaffordable. And if it's unaffordable, then guess what happens? You can't buy the home. We saw this detail 2 nights ago. Before these mortgage numbers came in, we had the numbers year to date on the mortgage industry, and it was a miss. What was going on tonight? Let's summarize across the board. None. Number one, the housing industry looks like it's either in a stagflation mode or in a recession. Why? Because no one can afford a 5% mortgage rate, and that's a 30-year fix, and it's growing out of control. It's not stopping. It's going higher by the day. Number two, it's signaling that home sales are down dramatically, down 4.1% February compared to the month of January, and that is the fourth consecutive month of decline across the board. That's indicating that people cannot sell homes. Also, on the mortgage refi, it signals that people cannot afford the homes. 5.5% for the 30-year fixed basis point, for 30-year fixed mortgage shows a spike of 73 basis points in just December of last year to February. This is out of control. So what does this mean? It means that Build Back Better Act needs to get done because, one, the housing industry is either in stagflation or in recession. Number two, because a lot of the provisions of Build Back Better are about the house, like the $25,000 for the purchase of the new home for Maxine Waters, the home repairs in that second cluster, and also the weatherize your home. Good news also tonight on another front, which is Joe Manchin wants to do the Build Back Better Act, and he wants to get it done really quickly. In a series of new comments he had over the weekend, he said that he's ready to get it done. Those comments were then later confirmed by Sam Runyon, his communications director. Senator Manchin is always willing to negotiate in getting this moving and getting the country moving forward. Takeaway tonight on the news for the Build Back Better Act is that, number one, the mortgage industry signaling the highest mortgage in nearly many, many years. Number two, that the housing starts continues to erode, signaling the housing industry is really in big trouble. Big trouble. And then Joe Manchin saying he's ready to come in and get Build Back Better Act done. We're staying with this front, and we'll be looking at the 30-year mortgage over the next few days, and we'll be looking at the home sales coming into next month. But now we have 4 months of consecutive declines. This is why Build Back Better Act needs to get done. CR for stimulus. Breaking developing details on that front tonight as well. The President of the United States did not get his money for COVID in the CR no less than 4 weeks ago, but county stimulus got in there. So the President of the United States has still not debuted his second CR that would have money for COVID. What did he debut? He debuted just a few days ago a $31 billion defense spending bill that will include $32 billion to fight crime at home and $6.9 billion to fund NATO and also Ukraine. Is this likely to pass? It's not, because it needs bipartisan support, and the price tag is a little bit too high. But what is not high is not high enough yet, is the inflation number. It could potentially go higher. What's happening tonight? This is your SS300 and your fifth stimulus. The President of the United States proposed to raise your benefits up by swapping out COLA for inflation when his run for presidency started. Then when he ran and got the highest office in the land and became President of the United States, he then put it at his presidential platform at joebiden.com, swapping out COLA for inflation. Well, where is COLA and where is inflation tonight? I have a big update across the board on this. First, let's go over what's at issue. This is your benefits. And would you like $300 more per month? You would. What's at issue? This is how it works. Swapping out COLA for inflation, when inflation is at its highest price point of a generation, would bring your benefits up about $200 a month more per month, not just this month, not just this year, but a lifetime, a generation. Where are we tonight? Inflation was tracking at 8% in December, then 8% January, but where is it tonight? For March 30th, 2022, here's the breaking developing details. The U.S. Treasury yields were higher again. The bond traders are trading up the notes day after day. The 5-year Treasury note up 2 basis points today. The 30-year Treasury bond higher today. The 10-year Treasury note higher today. This is signaling that the bond traders believe that, yes, inflation is higher. This is good for you, because if Joe makes a swap from COLA to inflation right now, you'd lock in that additional $200 per month. What is also at issue tonight? The yield curve inversion. The yield curve inversion. What is the yield curve inversion? If you went to put money in the bank and you put it in a 30-year CD, you would get more, generally, for that CD than a 5-year CD or a 6-month CD, obviously. Well, not so obviously when they invert, and that's what's been going on all week long. The 5-year Treasury note has been paying higher than the 30-year Treasury note. That's called inversion. And that yield curve inversion has not happened since 2006. The last time we went to recession. So what is Jay Powell looking at the situation tonight? He's looking at the situation tonight and signaling maybe he needs to come in more aggressively on those interest rates. If he comes in more aggressively on your interest rates, then guess what? You wouldn't see SS 200 this month. You would potentially see SS 175. So Jay Powell is looking at that interest rate situation tonight and trying to raise it up potentially in April. But you don't want him to raise it up too strong because we could go into stagflation. At issue is how strong and when. And if you do it too much, then we go into a worse situation. Let me give you my part of the analysis right tonight. Jay Powell had given us guidance in the month of February. He said the March meeting will do a 1/4 basis point for that interest rate spike. And then we'll stay at a 1/4 basis point indefinitely. And we'll try to get a 4% inflation rate by December. I said, good. 4% is additional $100 for your SS 300. That's SS 300. $200 now, another $100 later this December. But he went into that March FOMC meeting and says he's going to try to get to 1.9% inflation by December. I said, oh no. Can he do it? My takeaway is he cannot. But let's say he did. That's not an additional $100 later this year. Now, after that March meeting, then his Fed governors like Wallace and also Bullard said, we need to come in more aggressively, like 0.5 basis point. Aggressively would bring down inflation to 6% potentially in April, May. That wouldn't give you $200 now, it would give you $150. So, you want Joe to make the swap right now. Hashtag Joe make the call. Make the call to the Social Security Administrator, Joe Biden, and swap out that COLA for inflation right now before it goes lower. You don't want to lock in 6% inflation because that's not $200, that's $150. You want to lock in that 8% right now when it's additional $200 a month. Not when it gets lower across the board. Now, what's at issue tonight is that there's a series of analyst reports, and I'm going to go over my takeaway across the board. They're looking at that yield curve reversion. They're looking at the 10-year bond, and they're also looking at the data that Jay Powell's had as well. What is my takeaway? Number one, I believe that the yield curve inversion, with everything else that's going on, is signaling we're going into recession. The yield curve inversion last happened in 2006, and it's in and of itself, it does not signal we're going into recession. But when you look at the housing market, you look at the new home sales down 4 consecutive months. You look at the mortgage rates at the highest level in nearly a decade, 5%, which no one can afford a home on a mortgage of 5%. And you see all the other data coming up later in this recording. We're going to recession. So you don't want Jay Powell to come in too aggressively. If he sees his recessionary concerns like I do and you do, he's likely not to come in as aggressively. And that's why we'll be in a good position for that SS 300. So Joe, make that phone call right now. Lock in that $200 more per month by swapping COLA for inflation, 8% right now, and we will see what happens later this year. If we come in at 4%, which is where I think we still would, that would be another $100. That would be SS 300. Breaking developing details still not finished across the board, and those other details tonight are that 6 stimulus. Wow, this is a big shocker, folks. As the United States had been getting that trifecta of Germany, France, and the United States, aligned, not maligned, for a 6 stimulus package in April. But today, Germany said, I love those Russian products. Excuse me? Yes, Germany's signaling today it may not get off of those Russian products. What does that do for 6 stimulus? Oh boy, it's coming up later in this video. It's a shocker. And I'll have the analysis on that front as well. Then we'll be looking to that 7 stimulus. Coming up later in this video, it is the big developing details of that student loan debt forgiveness. It is May 2nd. And we'll look at what's happening internationally, domestically, and whether that 7th stimulus will happen May 2nd. But first up is the big money, and you're ready for it. And if you just found this channel, welcome. This is Evenings LALATE, America's most watched show in prime time for financial news. And the great news is that right now, big checks are paying out. The first one is a fourth stimulus check. $15,000 to $80,000. The second check, or checks, are MSC, third stimulus checks, paying out on average $2,000 a month for 12 months. First, let's go over what they are. Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon bill, is currently in the Senate, not law. But the President of the United States, 5 Fridays ago this Friday, said, you know what, I'm going to make something else law. It's a fourth stimulus add-on, and it pays out $15,000 to $80,000. Number one, is it a law? Yes, it became a law, this fourth stimulus, 5 weeks ago. Number two, has it been paid out? Oh yeah, it has been paid out. Number three, how much are you getting? $15,000 to $80,000. But the viewers of this channel, the members are averaging about $66,000 to $80,000. Number four, what is the routing time? Once you get that application in, those early days of the application, you get paid in about 1 week. How do you get it? It's coming up in the second half of this video. Become a member. The link's at the top of the chat and the pinned comment. I'm going to show you how to get these big checks. And the great news is if you got a third stimulus check, you're in the income zone. You can get these $15,000 to $80,000 checks. It's fourth stimulus. It's live, and it's coming up in the second half of this video. Also coming up the second half of this video is that third stimulus MSC check. Now, third stimulus already paid you a $1,400 stimulus check last year. But viewers have come back and gone back and gotten an MSC from third stimulus on top of that. And they're averaging $2,000 a month for 12 months. This is in addition to the fourth stimulus MSC check, and in addition to all the other checks covered in tonight's recording. That's coming up in the second half of this video. We got a big second half, and I got more of the breaking developing details across the board on the Build Back Better Act. A lot of brand new news tonight on that front. Of more about what's happening with Jay Powell and that SS300. Of more breaking news tonight about that CR. Then I'll have a lot more about that congressional move to get that student loan debt forgiveness done by May 2nd. And then I have the shocking developing details. As Germany seems to pivot away from sixth stimulus. Is it happening or is it not happening? And of course, those big checks, those big monies, those third MSCs and those fourth stimulus checks, plus my commentary in the final minutes of this video, stay to the very end. We're just getting started. It's Evenings LA, America's most watched show in prime time. The second half comes up right after the commercial break. See you back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues in a big second half of Evenings LA from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Boy, we have a big, huge broadcast tonight. Stay at the very end because I got more checks for you later in tonight's recording. But we're going to recap where we are right now. Number one, the Build Back Better Act is likely to happen. So there's a series of new economic data tonight. First, the jobs numbers were a beat. Excuse me, the jobs numbers were a beat, slight beat, not a big one. Coming in at 455,000 new jobs for the month of March. That's payroll services ADP's numbers. Wall Street is looking for 450, slight beat. But then the growth numbers were a miss. The U.S. economy did not grow at the pace that many people expected. They were predicting a 7% growth and came in at 6.9%, really shocking across the board. I'll have more about that tonight across the land. Then we'll be looking at that new payroll numbers coming out later this week and whether a further miss happens across the board. The White House, meantime, is ready to engage with who else? Yes, Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin saying in a series of new comments he's ready to get Build Back Better done. And those comments were later confirmed by his communications director, Runyon. He said that it's time to get this country back on track, and Senator Manchin is ready to move forward, said Sam Runyon, communications director. Manchin is ready to do the Build Back Better Act, he said in a conference over the weekend, and then later confirmed by his communications director. The Federal Reserve and that SS-300 really battling a lot of problematic news tonight. As the 10-year Treasury note, the 2-year, the 5, and the 30 growing higher by the minute, that signals that bond traders think that inflation is getting worse, not better. That could be good for you if they swap out that COLA for inflation. But then we're worried about the inversion curve. The inversion curve signaling that we could be going into recession. Some analysts tonight, like Antoine Beveau, says it doesn't mean we're definitely going into recession, but it's a more risk. And the more risk you take into account, we could go into restrictive territory that the Fed governor and the Fed head may move across the board. My takeaway on the data is we are going into recession 2 years from now. For 2 years from now, 2023 and 2024, because the data continues to be bad. From both the housing starts down 4 consecutive months, the mortgage rates up, and no potential loom across the board. The data gets actually worse day after day. And that the fact that we beat on the unemployment numbers by $5,000 is nothing to sing home about. So let's go over the breaking, developing details of the big sums of money tonight. It's huge. And you're ready with your pen and paper? I hope you are. Third stimulus MSC checks. Are you ready for them? I'm going to have them for you. And then fourth stimulus checks that were sent out from the White House, $15,000 to $80,000. I'm going to have those for you as well. It's exciting news, and it's only on Evenings LA. And it all starts right now. First, let's go over those Build Back Better developing details. Build Back Better is a congressional legislation. It's a bill. It's in Congress. But guess who has the ability to do laws as well? His name is Joe Biden. He's the president of the United States. And he can do laws by the executive branch. And that is what he did 5 Fridays ago. 5 Fridays ago, this coming Friday, he decided to do his add-on and make it a law. So number 1, it's law currently. Number 2, it's paid out. Number 3, you can get it. And number 4, it's a lot of money. So what is it? It's called the homeowner's grant for purposes of recording, and it pays out $15,000 to $80,000 of checks. The checks have gone out. The viewers have gotten the checks, and if you haven't, you can get them tonight as well. I'm going to go over all the incredible details across the land starting right now. What are we looking at, and how do you get these big sums of money? First, the eligibility is just like a third stimulus check. It's huge. First, what is this called? For purposes of recording, it's called the homeowner's grant. The payout, the same as a third stimulus check. It's $15,000 to $80,000. Great. Eligibility, just the same. Does it double it, triple it, or quadruple it based upon the household size? No, it does not. It pays out $15,000 to $80,000 per household. Is it law? It is law. Has it been paid out? It has been paid out. And how do you get it? You tune in right now to Evenings LA every night in prime time. I go over the details. The program is called the Homeowner's Grant. It is a grant. It is not a loan. You do not have to repay it. It is not income. It is not taxable. And how do you get it? You become a member. The link is at the top of the chat and in the pinned comments description. By becoming a member, you get all the incredible membership news. You get all the incredible details delivered to you in the membership newsletter. First, the eligibility. $15,000 to $80,000 checks are paid to individuals who make $75,000 or less, single individual. Married couple, $150,000 or less. Second, if you're on benefits, you can get as well. SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, you can get as well. The last eligibility is you own a home. It's called the Homeowner's Grant. But if you're a renter, stay with me because I got money for you in just a second. So how to get these incredible sums of money? First, you become a member. The link again at the top of the chat and on the pinned comment of this video. Next, You open the membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Open the membership newsletter right in there. The first line is about the big indications of what happened in the oil industry. Then the wheat and grain numbers tonight. And then right below it, whammo, is this homeowner's grant. It features the complete name of the homeowner's grant. It's longer than that. Then it features everything you need to know about income qualification, like we just went over. And then it features what it pays for. Great items like home repairs and more, all featured in the members' newsletter. Then lower down, there it is, the link to get the money. It's a web link. It's on the internet. You click the link and it sends you to the website run by the federal government that then routes you to the website run by your state. You apply. And viewers have been applying since day one. Now let's take a step back. This was announced by the president 5 Fridays ago this coming Friday, but it wasn't covered anywhere else across financial news except here, America's most watched show in prime time, Evenings LALATE every night at 5 o'clock. As soon as the president announced it, I put in the membership newsletter because that's what we do. The community of this channel is called the Purple Hawks or the Purple Power. And as soon as you get that information, you pounce as a hawk. You get those sums of money. So as immediately it was announced, it immediately went to the newsletter. Then, viewers started applying right away. And the routing times right tonight are about 1 week from when you apply. Viewers have gotten the check, $66,000 to $80,000. And the rest of the viewers have gotten their applications in, and it says approve. From point of approval to routing time, it's currently about a 1 week. But here's what you need to know. Every state will run out of the funds, number one. Every day that goes by, thousands of people apply, and those thousands of people will be ahead of you. Every time there's 1,000 applications ahead of you, it slows down the time to receive the money. So you want to go to the top of the channel under the pinned comment, get that application, get that membership, become a member to get that application and get it on file. What about that membership newsletter? It comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alerts. It's not sent by email, not sent by waivable check, or not sent by lobster. It's sent via the YouTube alerts. So make sure you have all your alerts set to all on. And make sure you're a member and get that membership newsletter tonight. Now, if you're not a homeowner, but you're a renter, get ready, because I got third stimulus MSC checks. Wow. Now, let's slow it down first to go over where we are, and then we'll go over how you get it. Third stimulus, law, last year, sent out a $1,400 stimulus check. This is an addition to it. Wow. And it's an addition to everything for fourth stimulus. It's different than fourth stimulus. It's not sent out from IRS. This is a third stimulus MSC check. Next, who can get it? Every viewer of this channel. If you're a renter, you can get it. If you're a homeowner, you can get it. And how much does it pay? A lot more than anything proposed under fourth stimulus. It pays on average $2,000 a month for upwards of 12 months. Viewers have got to this day after day for the last 2 weeks, and many viewers have gone over 150,000. Next, who can get it? If you're on benefits, oh, absolutely. I had one viewer 2 nights ago. He's on SSI and SSDI. He got $60,000 from this. Single individual, married couple, yes, you can get it. All you have to do is pounce Purple Hawks and get the money. So how do you get this money? First, you want to become a member. The link is at the top of the chat. Second, you want to take notes. Let's go over the details right now. You want to reach out to the following 6 places to start. Your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, and your county house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage utility assistance because of COVID. You literally say those words. You don't say MSC, you don't say falafel or waivable check. You literally say those key words. Now, 6 places, well, if you're a member, it's going to be more than 6 places. Yes, because in the membership newsletter, it also features the nonprofits, which are over a half dozen feature in the membership newsletter. Then, rejection rate. You're going to get about 50% rejection rate because you're also going to get about a 50% approval rate. The average viewer of this channel gets that. And how much do the average viewer of this channel get? They get about $45,000. So get those big checks. Reach out to those organizations and get them approved. Now, every time you get a program approved, go to the next one, as Johnny did several weeks ago. He started he started 1 week with $0 on Monday. By Wednesday, he had $45,000 from 3 programs. He didn't stop there. By the end of the week, he called 15 programs. He got 8 approved and $80,000. You can as well. Become a member and learn about all this big money for third stimulus MSC checks. Recap, third stimulus MSC checks, all of you, every state, every county, every city across the land, go get it right now. Eligibility, all different across the land. Payouts slightly different across the land. Get those big sums of checks right now. For stimulus, $15,000 to $80,000. That's live right now, and it's paying out right now. Get those checks, and there you rock and roll. Now, six stimulus, a lot of breaking news on that front tonight. What is six stimulus? You may have seen the first stimulus package in 2020 and thought that was big. This is the biggest stimulus package of a generation. How big is this six stimulus package? It is going to be the largest stimulus package of a generation. Why is it needed and what is it for? While the first stimulus package was for COVID, and the second was to be for COVID, the third was coming out of COVID, and the fourth is coming out of full COVID, the sixth stimulus package is for what? Recession. And Vladimir Putin. Let's go over the details of what it is for and what happened tonight across the land. Sixth stimulus heated up no less than week 2 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It heated up after your Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, reached out to Germany and France, saying you must get off of those Russian products. What was the reaction when he initially said that? They initially said, no, we aren't getting off those Russian products. And then he said, you morally have an obligation to do so. And they said, yes, you're right. We will get off of those Russian products. That was then. What are they saying tonight? Tonight, they're saying, no, we're not getting off those Russian products. Yeah, major developing details tonight on this front tonight, folks, and it's very confusing. Let me give you the data first, and then I'll give you the analysis, because it is a very, very fluid and developing breaking news tonight. The countries of Germany and France were part of a trifecta, and that trifecta had agreed to do a six stimulus package. That six stimulus package would align the trifecta of progressiveness of the United States, Joe Biden, France, Emmanuel Macron, and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. To get off of those Russian products, they would have to debt spend, and to debt spend, they would give stimulus to their citizens. That was what they agreed to, because no citizen can afford $4 a gallon at the pump indefinitely. No citizen can afford a $7 loaf of bread indefinitely, or you go into recession. And remember, if one of those countries go into recession, we all go into recession. That was what they all talked about no less than week 2 of the Vladimir Putin invasion of Ukraine. So six stimulus was happening. Then what happened 7 days ago? It got even better. 7 days ago, the President of the United States went overseas to meet with them and the European community on everything that's in six stimulus in Brussels. And what happened? In meeting with the European community, the EU, they agreed to get off of Russian natural gas. And they even announced their agreement to get off of that Russian natural gas. And who are they going to buy it from? They agreed to buy it from the United States through 2030. It was a major announcement covered on this channel. I covered the EU's announcement. It was confirmed. What did they also announce during their meeting? They also announced the celebration that Joe Biden had gotten a major deal on gasoline, different from natural oil. This is gasoline. That deal was to really bring our gasoline down to its lowest level of generation. How? Germany and France had negotiated on behalf of the United States with Iran over recent weeks. And that deal was solidified no less than a week ago. That deal was that Iran would disarm its nuclear warheads in exchange for the United States lifting, with partner allies, their embargo of Iranian oil. That Iranian oil would float into our economies, and that Iranian oil would be a lot of it, replacing the Russian oil that many countries are dependent on at nearly 80% across the board, not the United States. What was that Iranian deal? The Iranian deal was 500,000 barrels of Iranian oil per day, starting in April to May, then growing to 1.5 million barrels of oil by the end of the year, dropping our price of gasoline dramatically. That deal was announced. And yet the price of Brent crude continued to go up daily. And the price of gasoline domestically, according to AAA, continued to go up. What was going on? Not particularly clear. At the time of tonight's recording, from March 30th, 2022, the status on the Iranian oil deal is unclear. Germany negotiated on behalf of the United States with France for us, and that deal was to get oil to our partner allies, including Germany. Then Germany, as part of the EU committee, met Biden overseas in Brussels just last week and did a deal to get that natural gas to the United States. So what did Germany say tonight? Are you ready for this? Get ready for a little bit of whiplash. What is Germany's comments tonight on this front? You're going to be shocked. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said that he is deeply concerned about the situation, that getting off of Russian products would mean that his country and the whole of Europe would go into recession. But we already knew that. That's why there's a sixth stimulus package, Chancellor. Then the German Council of Economic Experts today said the following. The high dependency on Russian energy supply entails a considerable risk of lower economic output and even a recession with significantly higher inflation rates, said the German Economic Council of Experts today. Then we also had other comments that came in from the European Central Bank. Christine Lagarde says there's significant risk to growth. That's why we have six stimulus. And then we also have German Chancellor Olaf Scholz saying that he's worried this is all going to send his economy into recession. Translation, hard to translate. Here's my takeaway on the situation tonight. Number one, you have to have a six stimulus package. You have to have a six stimulus package because if you do not, and even if you still buy Russian products, your economy is going into recession. Let's do the German analysis first. Olaf Scholz saying we are worried about getting off our Russian products will go into recession. You already are going to recession because the price of gasoline is unsustainable into the month of May. The German economy is going into recession. The United States economy is going into recession. The price of wheat is unsustainable into the month of May. You're already going to recession. So I don't know why he thinks you're not going to recession. Let me say this even clearer. Six stimulus was predicated on the notion we're going into recession if we don't do these elements across the land. And those elements are debt spending. They are stimulus to their economies. And no one sees that price of gasoline is going down. No one sees that the price of wheat is going down. So you're going into recession. None of these comments from the German chancellor make any sense. So am I worried about them? No. Do I think that six stimulus is going to happen? Yes. Do I think that the German chancellor is just saying, hey, get ready for recession? I think he is. But that is why I think he's trying to sell us on six stimulus. Also, there's a lot of politics nationwide, and I don't want to confuse across the board. We already know the risk of growth, as Christine Lagarde, the European Central Bank president said today. But what's the takeaway from now? The takeaway to now is that I want to see the German chancellor stay on point. Because if you negotiate the deal for the Russian oil to get replaced with Iranian, then stay on point. You want to see that German chancellor stay on point for the issue of liquid gasoline, liquid oil, which is what the president, the EU, and Germany himself negotiated just 7 days ago overseas, as the price of Brent crude is surging to $122 a barrel tonight. And the price of gasoline in the States domestically is at $4.24, according to AAA national average. So am I worried about what General Chancellor Olaf Scholz said? No, but I'm a little confused by it. And ultimately, I'll stay on the messaging and I'll stay on point and see if it pivots. We've not seen the White House reaction to the situation tonight. Why do we need six stimulus? For a series of reasons. Number one, the price of gasoline in the United States, if it's at current levels through May, we go into 2 years of recession. And that is why you need stimulus so that you can afford the price of gasoline. It won't go down until the Iranian oil floods the market. And with the Russian oil out of the equation, we're going to recession. Number two, the price of grain and wheat continues at massive highs. If you remember this channel, you get that membership newsletter Monday through Friday. And the wheat prices for the May 22 contract continues to surge. 11.02 up $16 2 days ago. Then when we're looking at grain, $7.50, corn, $7.54, up $5. These are very troubling numbers. And we're not even into the other parts of the six stimulus package yet. The other parts of the six stimulus package are Vladimir Putin's potential default in April 4th. And also, yes, the China part of the equation. The China part of the equation is that many people think that China will still give money to Vladimir Putin to undo those sanctions from the West. If he does, Xi, oh boy, he's getting sanctioned. And if he does, we're going into recession. But the other part of the equation, which is faster tolling, is that April 4th deadline. Yes, what is that April 4th deadline? That April 4th deadline is when Vladimir Putin is due to pay back $2 billion of principal. And guess what? If he doesn't pay $2 billion of principal back, then he defaults. What is the breaking news tonight on that front? I have a lot on that issue as well. You have to read sort of through the tea leaves on seeing this issue, or sort of read between the lines. I did, but I'm going to show it to you right now. Where's the indication tonight that Vladimir Putin is likely to default on April 4th? The likely detail tonight, and this is breaking news, you're hearing for the first time on Evenings LA, is that Vladimir Putin is now announcing that for those countries that still buy natural gas from Russia, do not pay him in euro or dollars, as the contract says, for a deadline due tomorrow. Pay him in rubles, his local currency. Well, Germany did not buy into that narrative and said, no, the contract says we pay you for natural gas tomorrow in euros or US dollars, and we're not going to pay you in your currency. That would be a breach of contract, number one, and we know why you're trying to do that. You're trying to undo the Russian sanctions. He doesn't have access to his currency because of the U.S., the Western alliances of sanctions against him. So does this signal that Vladimir Putin is going to default on April 4th? It really does. If he's asking for all these payments on contracts for existing natural oil, that contracts that say euro or U.S. dollars is how you pay me in our local currency, it means that he's likely to default on April 4th. Why is this bad news for you? It's horrible bad news for you, because guess what? Your local bank is doing daily dealings, hourly dealings with big U.S. banks. And that if those big U.S. banks have exposure to Russian debt and Russian equities, guess what their line items will be for Q2, Q3 2022? Massive losses. When that Vladimir Putin debt or equity becomes valueless, credit worthiness after April 4th. It's a very big issue, and that is why 6 stimulus is needed. Meantime, let's look into the breaking developing details on that 7 stimulus front. That is that student loan debt forgiveness. Yes, student loan debt forgiveness is 7 stimulus. And 7 stimulus has some major developing details tonight. What are they? Number one, the student loan debt forgiveness is currently on moratorium. You did not have to repay that student loan debt during COVID. But the White House is determining whether economic issues like potentially stagflation should roll over the return of that money, or whether student loan debt forgiveness should be forgiven. Tonight, the fronts look like there's 3 possibilities. Number one, the president could extend the return of the student loan debt, the moratorium on the student loan debt, out further, meaning you don't have to repay any debt past May 2nd. Number 2, he can keep where we are tonight, which is your debts have to start being repaid starting May 2nd. The moratorium is lifted. Or number 3, he can forgive student loan debt. It looks more possible tonight that the president may forgive student loan debt. Why? His education secretary during the Obama-Biden administration passed a series of legislation with Obama and Biden that allows the executive branch, yes, Joe Biden, to forgive student loan debts without an act of Congress. And that if Congress doesn't like it, then they can try to undo it. And there's not enough congressional votes among Republicans to undo it. That comments were made by Obama Biden's education secretary in just the last 7 days. Wow, it's huge. And so which of these permutations look the most likely? I think the most likely is either the extension of the moratorium for extra war weeks, or the full outright forgiveness of that student loan debt. Big night across the board. Let me give you my analysis of what's going on for all these fronts, because that was a big whammo of checks and stimulus. Number one, third stimulus, MSE checks. The great news is that there's a lot of money. These monthly stimulus checks, which you get by making the affluence of Purple Hawk, are paying out. And the viewership of this channel is doing so well. As one viewer last night said, but what about if I want to become a renter, if I want to move from becoming a renter to homeowner? Should I get these checks now? Absolutely. You get checks on the come. And the great news is that viewers, even SSI viewers who got $66,000 a few days ago, are getting these big checks. Third stimulus, MSE checks, go get it. Number 2, fourth stimulus checks, $15,000 to $80,000 being paid out. Law. This is that add-on. What about the Build Back Better Act? When would that heat up? It wants to heat up really soon, because there's a lot of major developing details tonight that are not good news for the economy, but support to get Build Back Better done. Number 1, the job numbers, while not a beat, really sort of plateauing. Number 2, The housing market likely in either recession or stagflation right now. Housing starts down 4 consecutive months, and the mortgage rate's going up to the highest levels we've seen many months, many years. No one can afford a 5% mortgage for a 30-year fix. That is why the housing market is slumping. You need that stimulus out. You need Build Back Better Act done. Number 3, we have a lot of indication today that stagflation or the inversion curve is really taking its toll on this economy. When you see a shorter note, like a 5-year note, getting less of an interest rate than a 30-year note, that is normality. But when you see a 30-year note paying less than a short note, like a 5-year, that means interest rate inversion. The inversion curve is happening. Inversion curve is happening. That, along with all this other data, shows we're going into recession. Not 1 year, but 2 years. That's why fifth stimulus is needed. But what would next be on the horizon? Next on the horizon, of course, is that May 2nd deadline for that student loan debt forgiveness. That is just around the corner. That sixth stimulus from the trifecta of Germany, France, and also the United States, that is also next on the horizon. That is early April. Then we have everything else heating up, which is that SS300. Joe needs to make that phone call right now because ultimately, while I say that Jay Powell doesn't have the tools to bring down inflation with interest rates, I have to worry that potentially maybe I might be wrong. And that ultimately, if Jay Powell drops inflation down too quickly, then that would not be SS200, that would be SS150. And if we wait around any longer, Joe Biden waits around any longer, that's not SS150, it's SS125. Yeah, make that swap for COLA to inflation right tonight. Finally, my commentary tonight. My commentary tonight is that I'm very proud of the viewership of this channel. As we approach our 2-year anniversary for April 25th, 2022, there is a lot that's going on tonight. But the thing that's going on is you're winning. You are winning. Where this channel has gone from and where this channel is going is you are learning more by the hour, by the day. And as you learn more, you are winning and getting ahead of the curve. The curve tonight is the following. You have taken your knowledge from here to there because tonight you know what an inversion curve is. That is when the shorter notes are paying more than a longer note. If you were to go to the bank today and get a 5-month CD, it would pay you more than a 6-year CD. Really? Why? It's called the inversion curve. And why is that troubling news? Because the last time that happened in 2006, we went to recession. 2 years of recession. It does not guarantee recession, but gives you a warning signal of a recession. You also know that there's other indications tonight of a recession. The housing market, 4 months of consecutive down sales. The mortgage rates to buy a home up dramatically. That signals you're ready to pivot and ready to prepare. You're ahead of the curve by knowing what is happening right now. You're ahead of the curve because you know what is coming in the future. If all these indications are correct, we're heading to recession 2 years from now. That is why you're winning. You know what's happening now. You know what's happening on the horizon, and you're able to predict it and pivot across the board. You're also winning because with that information, you're applying that information. You're applying that information because if you know what this economy is going to look like in a year from now, in 2023, then you're pivoting. You're not going out and buying a massive house because the housing market may be going under in just a few months or may already be in recession or stagflation right now. You're not making a big change in your lifestyle because if there is a recession, if there's a contraction of the economy, businesses will not be growing. Maybe you're starting a business and then you're hearing tonight's recording. Maybe I should be concerned because my sales may not be amped up as I thought if recession, stagflation. Maybe you want to make a change in your lifestyle and now you're hearing all these economic elements. Finally, you're getting the big checks. You're getting the big checks daily, hourly, and weekly. With third stimulus, it's a monthly check. So when you get that rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, you're not just getting it for 1 month, you're getting it for a year. That's what's averaging out on this channel. So you wake up and that rent is paid for you. That mortgage is paid for you. That utilities is paid for you. That bill is covered by this channel. And the information imparts to you, you're listening, becoming a member, getting the check covered for you. If you're a homeowner, you're getting $15,000, $80,000 of checks. You're pouncing, get those big checks. You are the inversion of the antithesis of everything else out there. The antithesis is the person standing by the mailbox saying, when is a $600 check land in the mailbox? Wait and wait and wait. You're not doing. And you're not waiting for $600. You're waiting for $80,000 from fourth stimulus. You're waiting for 12 months of checks from second stimulus, third stimulus. But waiting, no, that's after you pounce as a purple hawk and get all the big sums of money. What is next on the horizon? Next on the horizon is clarification later this week about the labor market. We're looking for that labor data coming up on this channel in the next 24 hours as the U.S. labor number reports how robust or how weak the economy is. Is it a hit or miss? I think it's going to be a miss, number one. Number two, we're going to get clarification about what's going on with that oil deal. We thought we had an oil deal between the United States and Iran, flooding the market, bringing down the price of gasoline to its lowest levels of 15 years. Where is that Iranian oil deal? And is the Brent crude trading up, signaling that maybe the deal's not happening? Then, what's going on with that LNG deal? We just heard 24 hours ago that the United States and the EU Commission announced an LNG deal for natural gas. So why is Germany's chancellor out there complaining that he's going to stay on Russian natural gas when he just agreed to buy from us? What's going on? All the latest details on that. The White House has not reacted to the news. I'll have it for you tomorrow as well. Then we'll be looking at student loan debt forgiveness. New indication from the White House, we're going to watch for it. If the White House gives us an indication of forgiveness, then that's where we're heading. Exciting details across the board. And as this channel approaches its 2-year anniversary, can you imagine? It's only been 2 years. April 25th, 2022, look for more excitement across the board. Last night, this channel did a tester, an overnight show, breaking news as you want it delivered 24/7. It was the most watched show of this channel last night, all night long. It was a 10-hour feed, the latest breaking news. And tonight, it's back again. It's a 12-hour feed with all the breaking news you want to know about the geopolitical events that impact your wallet, about the checks that you can get in your wallet, about the economy and where it's going, about the elements of recession, stagflation, and also inflation and the inflationary curve, the mortgage industry, the housing industry, and what's happening that can impact your wallet, whether you own or don't own. It's all the data you need to know, and it's always on this channel. But it's coming back for a second night. If you like it, jump into that feed sporadically between the shows. Evenings LA is every night at 5 o'clock, America's most watched show in prime time. It's 5 o'clock. Make sure you don't miss it, because the first time you're hearing all this breaking data, and guess what? When a check goes live, it's first featured in Evenings LA. You don't want to miss that show. 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Then Evenings Extra. Evenings Countdown at 6 o'clock. Then we have Streaming Stimulus at 7 o'clock. Evenings Extra at 8 o'clock. And Sunset at 9 o'clock. And with that, thank you for joining me on another show tonight across the board. From the shores of Santa Monica to the shores of the Black Sea, Vladimir Putin saying that he may change his aggression against Ukraine. I'm not buying it. I'm staying on point for all the big money you can get. And when that money goes live, you hear it here, you see it here, you get it here. You stay ahead, you win, because the viewership of this channel, you're winning day in, day out. We're not waiting, we're pouncing as Purple Hawks. We're getting those big sums of money. As interest rates, recession, stagflation, all these elements that you need to know are growing and getting more problematic by the hour, we're on top of it. We're winning because we're part of this community. And this is Evenings LA.